The Det remembered the signal that changed everything. The Deep Space Monitoring Station orbited Neptune in silence. For years, it had listened to the void, cataloging cosmic radiation and distant star formations. But on this particular morning, something different cut through the darkness. Lieutenant Marcus Webb jumped from his chair as the emergency frequency erupted with sound. His coffee cup shattered on the floor, forgotten. The signal was old, using protocols that had not been active for half a century. Commander Sarah Chen arrived at the command center within minutes. Her dark hair was still wet from the shower, but her eyes were sharp and focused. She had commanded the Neptune station for 3 years, and nothing like this had ever happened. The other officers stood around the main display, their faces showing confusion and growing concern. "Report," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the tension. Webb looked up from his console. His hands were shaking slightly. "Commander, we are receiving a distress signal on the ancient coalition frequency. It is coming from the Caltharian home system, approximately 40 light years from our position." Sarah felt her chest tighten. The Caltharians. Every human alive knew that name. Every child learned it in school. They were the species that had saved humanity when no one else would. "Play it," she ordered. The speakers crackled to life. The voice that emerged was strained, desperate, speaking in the universal trade language that all spacefaring species understood. "This is High Commander Vex of the Caltharian Empire. Our worlds are under attack. We are facing extinction. The Devourers have returned. We are requesting immediate assistance from any coalition forces in range. Our defensive fleet has been destroyed. We estimate less than 30 hours before our home world falls. Please, if anyone can hear this, we need help." Sarah listened to it 3 times before she could speak. Around her, the command center had gone completely silent. Everyone understood what they were hearing. The Caltharians, the mighty empire that had once commanded a fleet of 10,000 warships, were begging for help. Memories of fire and ash. Sarah closed her eyes and remembered. She had been 7 years old when the asteroid swarm came. Not natural asteroids, but weapons. Ancient machines that had slept in the outer darkness for millions of years, awakened by humanity's first experiments with faster-than-light travel. The world had called them the Harvesters then. Now the galaxy knew them by another name. The Devourers. She remembered her father carrying her to the evacuation ship, remembered the sky burning as the machines descended, remembered her mother's hand slipping from her grasp as the crowd surged forward. Earth had been dying, and humanity had been helpless to stop it. Then the Caltharians came. They had no obligation to help. Humanity was not part of the Galactic Council. Earth had nothing to offer in trade or alliance. But High Commander Vex himself had led the rescue fleet. 3,000 ships had jumped into the solar system and fought the Devourers while evacuation transports pulled 9 billion humans from the surface. The battle lasted 6 days. 2,000 Caltharian vessels were destroyed. 40 million Caltharian soldiers died buying time for human children to escape. And when it was over, when Earth was a burning wasteland and humanity was scattered across refugee camps on a dozen different worlds, the Caltharians asked for nothing in return. Because it was right, Vex had said when human leaders tried to negotiate repayment, because civilizations that abandon the helpless do not deserve to exist among the stars. Sarah opened her eyes. 50 years had passed since that day. 50 years since the Caltharians gave humanity a second chance at life. And now they were the ones calling for help. The hidden arsenal. She touched the communication panel on her wrist. "This is Commander Chen. Initiate Protocol Crimson Horizon. Authorization Chen 77 Alpha. This is not a drill." Webb's eyes went wide. "Commander, that protocol requires authorization from Earth Command. If we activate it without approval, then they can court-martial me later," Sarah interrupted. "Activate it now." Across the solar system, hidden facilities began to wake. On Mars, beneath the red sand, massive hangar doors opened for the first time in decades. In the asteroid belt, weapons platforms emerged from camouflaged positions. Around Jupiter's moons, shipyards that official records claimed were decommissioned suddenly blazed with power. Admiral James Harrison appeared on Sarah's display within 10 minutes. His face was hard, carved from years of military service and harder memories. "Commander Chen, you just activated the single most classified protocol in human history. I hope you have a very good reason." "The Caltharians are dying, sir. Sarah said simply. "The Devourers have returned." Harrison's expression did not change, but Sarah saw something flicker in his eyes. Pain, perhaps, or recognition. "How long do they have?" "Less than 30 hours according to their distress call." The Admiral was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. 50 years ago, the Keltharians lost 40 million of their people to save 9 billion of ours. I was one of those 9 billion, Commander. I was on the last transport off of Earth. He straightened in his chair. "Activate the fleet. All of it." Sarah felt her breath catch. "Sir, the Council will never approve. They disbanded the coalition military 40 years ago. If we deploy without their authorization..." "Council can debate while people die," Harrison said coldly. "We will act while people live. Humanity does not forget its debts, Commander. Not while I draw breath. The fleet awakens. What happened next would be talked about for generations. Across human-controlled space, the hidden truth revealed itself. The peaceful colonies, the trade stations, the research facilities, all of them had been cover for something else. Something that humanity had been building in secret for 50 years. Ships emerged from the darkness. Not hundreds. Not thousands. 15,000 warships of classes and capabilities that the galaxy had never seen. Humanity had spent half a century preparing for the day when the Devourers might return. They had built weapons that bent the laws of physics. They had trained soldiers in tactics that no other species would consider. They had become something the peaceful galaxy could barely recognize. Sarah stood on the bridge of the Defiance, a dreadnought that had been hidden beneath Europa's ice for 30 years. Around her, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. Every person on this ship had been born after the evacuation. Every one of them had grown up knowing that humanity owed a debt that could never truly be repaid. "All ships report ready, Commander," her tactical officer reported. Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka was 25 years old and had never known Earth, but she wore the memory of it like armor. Ro opened a channel to the entire fleet. 15,000 ships. 3 million human soldiers. All vessels. "This is Commander Chen. 50 years ago, the Keltharians saved us when they had every reason to abandon us. They lost 40 million of their own to give us a future. Today we repay that debt. Today we show the galaxy what humanity has become." She paused, looking at the sea of ships spreading across her tactical display. "The Council calls us too young, too inexperienced. They say we should leave warfare to the elder species. They are wrong. We have been preparing for this moment since the day we learned what it means to be saved. Today, the Devourers will learn what it means to threaten our friends." "All ships," Sarah's voice hardened into steel. "Jump on my mark. Target Keltharian home system. Rules of engagement are simple. If it is not Keltharian and it is hostile, destroy it. Show no mercy. Take no prisoners. Make them remember why they should fear humanity." The fleet jumped as one. 15,000 ships tore holes in reality and vanished, leaving the solar system in darkness. First Contact Redux High Commander Vex stood in what remained of his command center. The proud warrior was old now, his scales dulled by time and stress. Around him, his world burned. The Devourers had consumed 2 of Keltharia's 3 moons. Billions were dead. His fleet was gone, destroyed in a desperate defense that had bought mere hours. He had sent the distress call knowing it was hopeless. The coalition no longer maintained a military. The member species had grown comfortable in their peace. No one would come. His people would die as the humans nearly had, alone and afraid. Then his sensors officer looked up with wide eyes. "High Commander, we have multiple contacts emerging from faster-than-light travel. 15,000 signatures. They are broadcasting human identification codes." Vex felt something he had not felt in days. Hope, small and fragile, but real. 15,000? That cannot be correct. Humanity has perhaps 200 military vessels in their defense fleet. "Sir, I am reading dreadnoughts, carriers, destroyers, ships of classes I do not recognize. They are taking up defensive positions around our home world." The officer's voice cracked. "High Commander, the humans came. They actually came." A communication request appeared on Vex's display. He accepted it with shaking hands. The human who appeared was young, a female with dark hair and determined eyes. She wore the uniform of a commander, and behind her, Vex could see the bridge of a warship that made his own vessels look like toys. "High Commander Vex," the human said, her voice steady and strong. This is Commander Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. 50 years ago, you saved my species when you had no reason to help us. You lost 40 million of your people so that 9 billion of mine could live. Today, humanity repays that debt. Today, the Devourers learn that some favors burn when returned. Vex tried to speak, but his voice failed him. The human commander smiled, and it was the smile of a predator preparing to hunt. Hi, Commander. Where do you need us? Point us at your enemies and watch what humanity has become. The universe learns when predators meet their match. The Devourer fleet hung in orbit around Keltheria like a swarm of mechanical locusts. Each vessel was massive, built from the harvested remains of 1,000 dead civilizations. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply consumed everything in their path, converting biological matter into fuel and raw materials into more of themselves. Commander Sarah Chen studied the tactical display with cold precision. The enemy had 60 capital ships surrounding the Keltharian homeworld, with smaller harvester craft descending to the surface to collect the population. Standard Devourer tactics, efficient, ruthless, predictable. Commander, the Keltharian defense grid is down to 12%, Lieutenant Tanaka reported. Their remaining ground forces are concentrated around the 3 major cities. Estimated civilian population still alive is 400 million. The Devourers are processing approximately 1 million per hour. Processing. Such a clinical word for the horror of being broken down into component atoms while still conscious. Sarah had read the reports from Earth's fall. She knew exactly what processing meant. Admiral Harrison is requesting communication, her communications officer announced. The Admiral's face appeared on screen. Behind him, Sarah could see the Bridge of the Remembrance, humanity's largest warship. Commander Chen, I am taking direct command of the operation. Your fleet will form the forward assault group. My fleet will provide support and evacuation coverage. Sarah nodded. Understood, sir. What are our rules of engagement? Harrison's expression was carved from granite. Total warfare, Commander. The Devourers do not surrender. They do not retreat. They adapt and evolve with every encounter. 50 years ago, they learned how the Keltharians fight. Today, they learn how humans fight. And I promise you it will be the last lesson they ever receive. He paused and something dangerous flickered in his eyes. The galaxy thinks we spent 50 years recovering from our trauma. They are wrong. We spent 50 years making sure we would never be victims again. Show them what humanity has built. Show them what we have become. Make the Devourers regret every human child who cried during the evacuation. The channel closed. Sarah turned to her crew. Every face showed the same expression. Determination mixed with something darker. Humanity remembered Earth. Humanity remembered being helpless. That would never happen again. All ships, battle formation Theta 7. Target the Devourer capital ships in high orbit. Fighter wings launch on my mark. Ground assault teams prepare for planetary insertion. The human fleet moved like a living thing. 15,000 ships arranged themselves into attack formations that the Keltharians had never seen before. Aggressive, unconventional. Built around one simple principle that humanity had learned the hard way. If you cannot win by being stronger, win by being willing to sacrifice more. The first strike, Captain Marcus Rodriguez commanded the carrier Indomitable. His ship held 3,000 fighter craft and 6,000 pilots who had trained their entire lives for this moment. He was 32 years old. He had been born in a refugee camp on the Keltharian colony, World of Vex Prime, named after the High Commander who saved humanity. All wings, this is Rodriguez. We are going to hit them fast and hard. The Devourers adapt to every tactic they see, so we are going to show them chaos. Every wing flies independently. No patterns, no predictability. Make them try to adapt to 3,000 different pilots all doing something different. He activated his fighter's engines and led the first wave out of the hangar. Behind him, 3,000 ships screamed into the void, their engines painting the darkness with trails of blue fire. The Devourer defenses came alive instantly. Energy weapons lanced through space with perfect accuracy. Point defense systems tracked incoming fighters with mechanical precision. The first wave of human pilots died in bursts of light. Their ships vaporized before they could even fire a shot. But humanity had prepared for this. For every pilot that died, 2 more pressed forward. The fighters scattered and reformed in patterns that seemed random but were actually carefully orchestrated chaos. The Devourers tried to adapt, tried to predict, but human pilots flew with instinct and emotion, things that machines could never fully calculate. Rodriguez dove toward a capital ship, his weapons hot. Around him, 50 other fighters followed in a loose formation. They fired missiles that split apart at the last second, becoming hundreds of smaller warheads that overwhelmed the Devourers' point defenses. Explosions rippled across the enemy ship's hull. Rodriguez pulled up hard, feeling the G-forces trying to crush him into his seat. His fighter's AI screamed warnings, but he ignored them all. Behind him, 20 of the 50 fighters that started the run were gone. But the Devourer capital ship was burning. All wings, concentrate fire on damaged sectors. Pour everything into those wounds. Do not give them time to repair. The space around Caltheria became a storm of fire and fury. Human fighters swarmed the Devourer vessels like angry insects, each one piloted by someone who remembered the stories of Earth's fall. They died by the hundreds, but each death brought damage to the enemy. Each sacrifice brought humanity closer to victory. On the surface of Caltheria, High Commander Vex watched the battle through his remaining sensors. He had fought in countless wars over his long life, but he had never seen anything like this. The humans were throwing themselves at the Devourers with a ferocity that bordered on madness. They are dying by the thousands, his tactical officer said quietly. Why do they not retreat and regroup? Vex understood. He had seen it 50 years ago when he evacuated Earth. Humans did not fight like other species. They did not calculate odds and make rational decisions. When humans decided something was worth dying for, they became a force of nature. Because they remember, Vex said softly. They remember what we did for them. They remember the debt. And humans never forget their debts. The hammer falls while the fighters kept the Devourer defenses occupied. Commander Chen brought the main fleet into position. The human dreadnoughts were massive, each one carrying weapons that the galaxy had banned centuries ago as too dangerous to exist. Weapons free, Sarah ordered. Target the Devourer command ships. Fire everything. The human fleet opened up with weapons that should not exist. Reality-shearing missiles that bent space itself. Causality bombs that made their targets cease to have ever existed. Entropy cannons that accelerated time around enemy ships until they aged into dust in seconds. The Devourers had faced advanced weapons before. They had consumed civilizations that had thousands of years more development than humanity. But they had never faced a species desperate enough to weaponize the fundamental forces of the universe itself. A Devourer capital ship simply vanished as a causality bomb struck it. Not destroyed, not disintegrated. It stopped existing, erased from reality so completely that the universe itself forgot it had ever been there. Another enemy vessel aged 1,000,000 years in the span of seconds, its hull corroding and collapsing as entropy took its toll. A third was caught in a reality shear torn between dimensions until it came apart at the molecular level. The Devourers adapted. They always adapted. Their ships began to shift, their armor reconfiguring to defend against the new threats. But humanity had prepared for this too. For every weapon the Devourers learned to counter, the human fleet had 10 more waiting. They are adapting to our reality shears, Lieutenant Tanaka reported. Effectiveness down to 40%. The battle raged for 6 hours. The Devourers threw everything they had at the human fleet. Advanced targeting systems. Nanite swarms. Weapons that harvested energy directly from stars. But humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this exact moment, and they had prepared well. Admiral Harrison watched from the remembrance as the human fleet carved through the enemy. He had commanded the rear guard during Earth's evacuation, watching his homeworld burn while he held the line for the last transports. Sir, we have lost 4,000 fighters and 62 capital ships, his tactical officer reported. Casualty estimates are approaching 100,000 dead. Harrison's jaw tightened. 100,000 human lives lost. But around Caltheria, the Devourer fleet was being systematically destroyed. 40 of their 60 capital ships were gone. The rest were burning. Continue the assault, he ordered. No mercy. No retreat. We finished this today. The Turning Point High Commander Vex received an urgent communication from the human ground forces. Colonel Maria Santos appeared on his screen, her armor scorched and her face grim. High Commander, we have landed forces in all 3 major cities. We are evacuating civilians to our transport ships, but sir, we found something. The Devourers have been here before. Vex felt ice run through his veins. What do you mean? Santos gestured to something off-screen. We found records in one of their harvesting facilities. Ancient records. High Commander, the Devourers hit Earth 50 years ago because they were tracking something. Some kind of energy signature. And that same signature is here on Caltharia. This was not a random attack. They are looking for something. Before Vex could respond, every display in his command center lit up with the same message. The Devourers were broadcasting. The voice that emerged was not mechanical. It was something else. Something ancient and terrible. Analysis complete. Human warfare capabilities exceed predicted parameters. Adaptation insufficient. Conclusion, tactical withdrawal required. Observation, human species presents unacceptable risk to collective efficiency. New directive, humanity designated priority target for future harvesting operations. Sarah Chen heard the message and smiled coldly. They are retreating. After millions of years of never backing down, the Devourers are retreating from us. Commander, should we pursue? Tanaka asked. Negative. Our priority is saving Caltharian lives. Let them run. Let them remember this day. Let them tell whatever passes for their leadership that humanity is not prey anymore. The remaining Devourer ships began to pull back, their faster-than-light drives charging. But Admiral Harrison had other plans. All ships target their FTL drive. Do not let them escape to spread word of our capabilities. The human fleet fired one final salvo. The retreating Devourer vessels were caught mid-jump, their drives failing catastrophically. The ships were torn apart by the violent energies of interrupted FTL travel. Silence fell over the battlefield. Around Caltharia, the wreckage of both fleets drifted in orbit. 130,000 humans had died in 6 hours of combat. But the Devourers were gone. All 60 capital ships destroyed. The Caltharian homeworld was saved. The debt repaid 3 days later, High Commander Vex stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was filled with representatives from 300 species, all of them struggling to process what had happened. The peaceful galaxy had been shattered by the revelation of humanity's hidden military. This is unacceptable, the council speaker declared. Humanity has violated 17 major treaties. They have built weapons that were banned for good reason. They have militarized their entire civilization in secret. This cannot stand. Fuck, stepped forward. His scales were still scorched from the battle, and he wore his full military uniform for the first time in decades. The council is correct. Humanity has violated many treaties. They have built terrible weapons. They have prepared for war during peacetime. He paused. And because of that, 400 million of my people are alive today instead of being processed into machine fuel. The chamber fell silent. Vex continued, his voice carrying the weight of a lifetime of military service. 50 years ago, my people saved humanity because it was right. We lost 40 million soldiers. We gained nothing but the knowledge that we had done a moral thing. Today, humanity repaid that debt with interest. They lost 130,000 of their own to save my people. They asked for nothing in return. He turned to face the council speaker directly. You say their weapons are too dangerous. I say the Devourers are too dangerous. You say they should not have prepared for war. I say thank the stars they did. Because when my people called for help, when we sent our distress signal to 300 species, do you know how many responded?
Yeah.
1. The humans came. Only the humans. The council speaker tried to speak, but Vex was not finished. Humanity remembers, they remember being saved. Remember the debt. And when we needed them, they remembered their friends. The galaxy could learn something from that. Sarah Chen watched the proceedings from Earth. Beside her, Admiral Harrison stood with his hands behind his back. The council is going to impose sanctions, he said quietly. They are afraid of what we have become. Let them be afraid, Sarah replied. We did not build this fleet to conquer. We built it to protect. We built it to make sure we never have to watch helplessly while people die. If that makes us dangerous, so be it. Harrison nodded slowly. The galaxy is going to change now. They have seen what a young species can accomplish when properly motivated. They have seen what happens when you give humans a reason to fight. Good, Sarah said. Let them see. Let them understand. Humanity protects its friends. Humanity remembers its debts. And if that changes the galaxy, then perhaps the galaxy needed to change. Across human space, the fleets began to stand down. The hidden facilities returned to their camouflage. But everyone knew the truth now. Humanity had spent 50 years preparing for war, and when the moment came, they had proven themselves worthy of the sacrifice made for them. In the Caltharian homeworld, massive reconstruction efforts began. Human engineers worked alongside Caltharian builders. Human medical teams treated Caltharian wounded. The two species, bound by mutual sacrifice, began to forge something new. Not just an alliance, a friendship built on the simple truth that some debts can only be repaid with action. High Commander Vex visited the human memorial that was being built in the capital city. It would list the names of all 130,000 humans who died defending Caltharia. As he stood before the partially completed monument, Commander Chen joined him. "Your people did not have to come," Vex said quietly. "The debt was already paid by your gratitude." Sarah shook her head. "Gratitude is not payment, High Commander. Action is payment. You gave us a future. We made sure you kept yours. That is what friends do." Vex looked at her, this young human who had commanded a fleet with such deadly precision. "What will humanity do now? The galaxy fears you. The Council will try to limit your military capabilities. Let them try." Sarah said with a slight smile. "We have learned an important lesson, High Commander. The galaxy respects strength. They respect those willing to fight for what they believe in. Humanity will continue to prepare. We will continue to build, because the Devourers are still out there, and next time we will be ready." She turned to face the memorial, "And if any of our friends ever need us again, they will know they can count on humanity. We remember our debts, we protect our allies, and we never back down from those who threaten innocent lives." The two of them stood in silence, watching the sun set over a world that had been saved by the very species it had once saved. The circle was complete. The debt was repaid, and the galaxy had learned a simple truth: humanity never forgets. The end.